Alright, if you're an SS2 chemistry student, you already know there are some topics that just feel designed to trip you up. An anode versus cathode? Yeah, that's definitely one of them. But don't you worry. In this explainer, we are going to break it all down with a super clear, foolproof method that will have you mastering this for your exams.
Go on, be honest with yourself. Does this question make you feel a little tense? Have you ever been sitting in an exam, staring at an electrolysis diagram and just had that moment of panic? Which one is which again? Trust me, you are not alone. It's one of the most common mix-ups for students.
And look, this isn't just some tiny mistake. This is a direct quote from a WAC chief examiner's report. They see this every single year. You see, mixing up the anode and cathode isn't just about losing one mark. Oh no, it causes a whole domino effect. You get the equations wrong, you get the products wrong, and it leads straight to a low grade. Well, today, that stops.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at why this is such a big deal for your exams. Then, we're going to peek inside the electrolytic cell. After that, I'll give you 2 super simple rules to tell the electrodes apart. We'll put it all together, and then we'll finish with the one unbreakable rule that will clear up any confusion for good.
So, let's be crystal clear on why we're spending time on this. Your WAC and NICO exams, they're not just about memorizing facts. They're about showing that you truly understand the concepts. You see, examiners report these same weaknesses year after year. Getting anode and cathode right proves you have more than just shallow knowledge. It shows you can handle the technical terms and that you know how to properly interpret what a question is asking. So, by mastering this one concept, you're actually tackling all 3 of these common pitfalls at once. Right, so to understand the anode and cathode, we first need to know where they live, and that place is the electrolytic cell. Let's have a look at the basic setup. Okay, take a look at this diagram with me. The setup is actually pretty simple. You've got a power source over here, like a battery, and it has a positive terminal and a negative terminal. Now these are connected to 2 metal rods, which we call electrodes. And these electrodes are dipped into a solution. Now notice this, it's super important. One electrode is hooked up to the positive terminal, and the other is hooked up to the negative. That liquid that they're sitting in, we call that the electrolyte.
So what exactly is an electrolyte? Well, think of it as a substance that, when you dissolve it in something like water, breaks apart into all these little charged particles that are free to move around. We call them ions. And these ions, they are the real key to everything. Their movement is what makes the magic of electrolysis happen.
And that brings us perfectly to our very first rule for never ever getting confused. It's so simple. All you have to do is follow the ions. It's all based on a basic rule of physics you've known for years.
So inside that electrolyte, we have 2 kinds of ions. We have cations, which are the positively charged ions. Here's a little trick. Think of the T in the middle of cation as a plus sign. Then we have anions, which are the negatively charged ions. And you know the rule, opposites attract. So the positive cations are going to move towards the negative electrode, and the negative anions are going to move towards the positive electrode. Simple as that.
Now here is the first major connection. The electrode that attracts the cations is called the cathode. Just look at the words. Cation, cathode. They even sound alike. Cations go to the cathode. And since cations are positive, they must be attracted to the negative electrode. So the cathode is negative.
And on the other side, the electrode that attracts the anions is called the anode. See the pattern? Anion, anode. Anions go to the anode. And since anions are negative, they must be attracted to the positive electrode. So the anode is positive. That's it. That's rule number 1.
Okay, let's get into our second rule. This one doesn't look at charge. Instead, it defines the electrodes based on the actual chemistry that's happening there, the redox reactions.
First, a super quick reminder of our redox definitions. Oxidation is the loss of electrons. Reduction is the gain of electrons. Now, a great way to remember this is the acronym OIL-RIG. Oxidation is loss, reduction is gain.
But how do we connect OIL-RIG to our anode and cathode? Well, for that, there is an even better, more direct phrase that your examiner will absolutely love.
This right here is the key. You just need to remember 2 tiny phrases, an ox and red cat. An ox tells you that at the anode, oxidation happens. And red cat, that tells you that reduction happens at the cathode. Say it with me now. An ox, red cat. This is the official chemistry definition.
Okay, now for the fun part.
Let's combine Rule 1, follow the ions, and Rule 2, the chemistry rule, to build one perfect, unbreakable chain of logic.
Let's just walk through this story step by step. Okay, so first, our positive cations. They're attracted to the negative electrode, right? We give that electrode a special name, the cathode. And what happens at the cathode? Well, red cat tells us reduction happens there. Now for the other side, our negative anions, they travel to the positive electrode, and we call that one the anode. And what happens at the anode? Ano-ox tells us oxidation happens there. See, it all connects together perfectly.
Now you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, this is actually pretty straightforward. And you're right. So why on earth do so many students get this mixed up? Let's tackle the real root of the problem. You know, the confusion doesn't usually happen right now, in SS2, when you're focused on electrolysis. The confusion creeps in later, when you learn about a different type of cell, and then you start to doubt everything you thought you knew. Look at this slide very carefully. In an electrolytic cell, the one we're focused on now for electrolysis, the anode is positive and the cathode is negative. But for another type of cell you'll learn about later, called an electrochemical cell, the charges are completely flipped. The anode is negative and the cathode is positive. This is the trap. This is where all the confusion comes from.
Here it is. This is the most important thing you need to remember. While the charges, the positive and negative signs, can actually flip depending on the type of cell, there's one thing that is always true. The chemical definition, the redox rule, it never changes.
And this right here is the most important slide of this entire explainer. Please burn this into your brain. The anode is always where oxidation happens. The cathode is always where reduction happens. The charges can change, the setup can look different, but an-ox and red cat are universal truths in chemistry. This is the unbreakable rule. If you hold on to this, you will never be confused again. I promise.
So let's end this with a little challenge to make sure all that knowledge is locked in tight. Go ahead and pause for a moment and try to answer this question out loud. Can you explain the difference using both the rule about the ions and the rule about the chemistry? If you can do that, you got this. You have mastered this topic for good. Good luck with your exams.